What's up, family? Peace, peace. What's going on? Hope all is good. Happy Wednesday evening. What's up? Thanks for joining us tonight. Come on in. Let's talk. We got to follow the money. We got to talk money today. So let's talk. Come on in, family. What's going on? Peace. Thank you so much for joining us live right here on the CJAC YouTube channel. Of course, I'm your host, Chris, with the Coalition for Just and Equitable California. I'm going to go through all of that and everything else. But first and foremost, thank you for joining. Welcome to tonight's and first and what will be a series of live YouTube videos called Follow the Money, Reparations versus California's Budget. We're going to talk more about what that means and what we're going to be doing in this series. We got a lot to talk about, a lot going on with money and the California budget. Where's the money? Where'd it go? Who's getting it? Who's not? Et cetera, et cetera. But as mentioned, I am Chris with the Coalition for Just and Equitable California. Of course, we are California's leading grassroots, community-based coalition and network of reparations organizers, mobilizers, advocates, overall supporters pushing for real reparations and reparative justice, specifically for Black American Californians whose ancestors were freed from chattel slavery in these United States, also known as American freedmen. Before we get started, do us a favor, family, subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Subscribe. If you have not already, hit the bell for notifications. Do that, please. Do that right now. If you have not done that, like this video, leave a comment, like it, leave a comment, and of course, share this out. Also, go to our website, www.cjec-official.org. www.cjec-official.org, and hit that donate button. Make a donation. We're all volunteers. All of your contributions go to support the work 100%. I want to do a quick special shout out to some of the reparations creatives and the reparations entrepreneurs who have been supporting this work financially, economically for many years, really since the start. Actually, I want to give a quick shout out to the Marin City Reparations Collective, specifically our good brother Malik. Our good brother Malik is responsible for this reparations hat right here, reparations AB 3121, and of course this protected species. As you can see right here, this protected species, Black America is a protected species, protected class. Sure, shout out to the Marin City Reparations Collective. Shout out to the brother Malik. Malik made these, didn't ask for no money, just said, hey, I'm making them. I want y'all to have them. So thank you. Shout out to the bro Malik also. Brother Malik did this shirt too. I want to just let folks know. We got some reparations creatives, folks making reparations gear. Shout out to again to the reparations, to the Marin City Reparations Collective. And of course, as I mentioned, we got reparations supporters who are also entrepreneurs. I see y'all in the chat coming through. What's going on? Hey, Darlene, what's going on? What's up, Billion? What's going on? Peace. What's up? Hope all is good. Happy Wednesday. We just talking about some of the amazing reparations entrepreneurs that we got in this specific movement. I want to shout out also our good sister out of San Francisco, Miss Apatasi, the artist. Strong sister for reparations, strong sister for genealogy, and an amazing designer. Shout out to all of our reparations entrepreneurs, as mentioned. And of course, I can't forget the home team. I want to shout out ETM Media. ETM Media, the number one reparations media, podcast, channel, everything, media per reparations, grassroots. Shout out to ETM Media. Go to their channel, ETM Media Group. Here on YouTube, subscribe, watch all their videos. They have been 10 toes, 11 toes down for reparations since day -1, as we say. All right, so big shout out to all the reparations folks who are supporting this through the entrepreneurship, through your creativity, through your everything. All right, so also shout out to all the volunteers, no matter what you're doing, how you support online, offline. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing. If you have not volunteered or contributed your time and your energy to the reparations work here in California, the time is now. So go to our website, www.cjec-official.org/get involved, or just go to the Get Involved page on our website and sign up to get involved. Add your name to the newsletter list, add your name to the volunteer sign up list. Get involved. And one more thing, make sure you are following us on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube at CJEC Official, at CJEC Official. Here on YouTube, it's at CJEC-Official, but everywhere else is at CJEC Official. A couple quick announcements. As I just kind of mentioned, news and a newsletter on our website. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website on that Get Involved page, but the newsletter itself is now public on our website. So no longer do you need to wait for an email to get the newsletter. Just go to the news section, the news page on our website, and you will get the newsletter. So no more waiting. You could get updated about what's going on with reparations in California almost on a daily basis, definitely on a weekly basis. We are at least once every 2 or 3 days putting some new information up there. So go back and check it, of course, but definitely sign up to get the newsletter as well on our website. And again, www.cjec-official.org/get involved. Also, the next California Reparations News IG Live is coming up next Wednesday, October 1st, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., I believe, or 8 to 8:30. Well, I think it's probably going to be 8 to 8:30. We're still trying to get the time right. But sometime next Wednesday, October 1st in the evening, we are going to be doing our next California Reparations News IG Live. So make sure you are following our pages and making sure that you know where to go and when to go to get that California Reparations News IG Live. Please, please, please. That is an amazing a tool that we are now using to help get reparations information out, because we know reparations news and information the best because we are working it every single day. All right. So next Wednesday, between 7 and 8 o'clock, we will have our next reparations news live on IG at CJEC Official. Okay. And okay, let me just set the stage for what we're going to do for the rest of the talk today. We planned this for about an hour. We may not need an hour, but I want to set the stage. And I really don't want to do no like charts and no graphs and no spreadsheets. We talking about budgets. We talking about California budget reparations. Yes. We talking about numbers. Yes. I don't really want to do none of that. I really want to just kind of tell you a story, if I could, because I think this is best understood that way. So I want to start with 2024, and I want to start with this. Okay. I want to start with this. What's up, brother Michael? I see you in the chat. What's going on? Peace, peace. We'll start with this. So some of you remember this from last year. For those of you who don't, it says California budgets up to $12 million for reparations bills, a milestone in atoning for racist legacy. This is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. This is a story by Capital Radio. And this is a story, by the way, if you see in the picture, this is I want to give a shout out to the folks who were responsible for the design of all of the great swag that you see in this picture right here. We know some of them folks, so shout out to the folks with the San Francisco Black Jewish Alliance. Shout out to Ann, shout out to the brother Brent, to the whole team, partly responsible for the picture that the stuff in the picture that you see here, the folks in San Francisco working for reparations. But last year, and this is where we will begin our story time. Last year, California, for the first time ever, put $12 million inside of our budget for reparations. And this was a big deal. We talked about this last year. We were pushing for this last year. We were fighting for this last year. Other folks were fighting for it too. First time in California history. First time in, I think, the country's history, but I could be wrong, that a state put some money in its state budget for reparations, specifically in our case and what we were working on last year, specifically for those who are descendants of those who were enslaved and freed in these United States. So American freedmen, those of us whose ancestors built this country. So that's where we will begin our story. $12 million in the state budget. Now, let me back up a little bit and show you what comes next. So in our story, $12 million gets put in our state budget for reparations last year. That leads to this. Okay? This. Now, Don't worry about the dates, right? So you'll see that the date on this, what I'm showing you right now, is May 24th at the top. What I just showed you was a story from July 2nd. Don't worry about the dates. Yes, this letter, this thing does come before that other thing, but don't worry about the dates. The dates are not as important. What the money was going in the budget already by this time when we're looking at this document in May. Even though we didn't see the story until July, the money was already going in the budget, and the decisions to put the money in the budget were already being made and already had been made by this time in May of 2024. So although we're starting our story technically in July of 2024, the things that lead up to the start of our story really start in the months that come before that, May, June, etc. So what you're looking at right here, though, is another part of our story. This is a letter from, at the top, you can see CLBC, California Legislative Black Caucus. For those of you who don't know what the California Legislative Black Caucus is, it is a group or the group of Black/African American self-identifying. So that's how they identify themselves as Black or African American people who were elected to the California State Senate and the California State Assembly. So it's the Black self-identifying politicians who represent the Senate districts of the California state and the assembly districts of the state of California. So that group is about 10, 12 people. They're all listed on this document from 2024. I think you can see them on the left here. They listed on this document in 2024. So this is a letter from, slide this here. This is a letter. Hey, Raphael, I see you in the chat. What's going on? What's going on? Peace, peace. This is a letter from that group of Black politicians to the governor telling him, and this is what I really want to show you, the most important part of this letter. This is the second part of the letter, by the way. The most important part is the part down toward the bottom. In this letter and in this part of the letter, the Black Caucus, Legislative Black Caucus, tells the governor what they want him to do with that $12 million that's coming to the budget, that's in the budget, that's being put in the budget. Yes, the public doesn't see a story until July, but the people who were working on it knew about it months before because they had to work on it for months before it happened. So, what's up, Sister Kim? I see you follow the money. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Follow the money. And that's what we're doing. And so, as you can see, here it says, and I'm going to just read it here. I'm starting with the word that says further. That's further. This is the Black Caucus, Legislative Black Caucus, last year to the governor. Further, we are submitting a budget request for a total of $12 million to lay a solid foundation for implementing the recommendations outlined in the Historic Reparations Task Force report. Specifically, we are requesting $6 million. So $6 million of the $12 million in accordance with the passing of Senate Bill 1403. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, what is Senate Bill 1403? What is that? We'll talk about that. Which would establish the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. This agency is crucial for executing the task force recommendations and represents a significant initial step in the progression of reparations within our state. SB 1403 has recently been incorporated into the CLBC's 2024 reparations priority bill package. We are requesting $6 million in direct funding. So this is part two. We are also requesting $6 million in direct funding for the California Black Freedom Fund. This allocation will be used or utilized for community level outreach and engagement efforts and to provide organizational support essential for the effective implementation of reparations initiatives. Okay, that's a lot of words. All right. A lot of words. What that's saying is, we, the California Legislative Black Caucus in 2024, we want you, Governor, to put $12 million in the budget and do this and that with it. The first this is use half of that money, $6 million, and put it in the California, or to create a California American Freedmen Affairs Agency, to create a new state agency whose job it would be to verify that people are eligible for reparations and then process people's reparations payments, et cetera, claims, et cetera. So that is a necessary piece to do anything called reparations, at least the functions and the pieces of that are necessary. That's something that we fought very hard for during the Reparations Task Force hearings in 2021, well, more in 2021, 2022, and 2023. To put a system in place so that people have a way to get verified as eligible as a descendant of someone who was enslaved in this country and freed from chattel slavery in this country as an American freedman, and for a place for you to go to process your checks, your claims, all your things that we are owed and going to get. Something has to be processing that and delivering it to us. Okay? So that's the function of that agency. That thing was inside of that was inside of Senate Bill 1403 last year. So Legislative Black Caucus is saying take 6 of the 12 and put it in this thing to create this new state thing. Then it's saying take the other 6 and give it to a nonprofit organization. Okay? So that was May, June, July of 2024. Now, those of you who were following this last year closely know that we opposed giving any of the funds, and we still oppose to this day giving any of the funds to nonprofit organizations. To us, this money is for reparations, to implement, to do reparations. Okay. What's up, LeVar? What's up, LeVar? What's going on? I see you in the chat. What's going on? What's going on? Peace. Shout out to everybody in the chat. All right. Shout out to everybody watching right now and listening. All right. Peace, peace. So that money is and was for reparations, okay? Not for nonprofit organizations, okay? Or foundations, okay? Or any of the other words that rhyme with your organization getting funded. So we oppose both of those. We oppose that second part, giving money to any nonprofit organization, and then next part of our story, of course, we were. I'm going to bring this back. All right. So we were here, right, at this letter. The next part of the story. So this letter leads to then this. Okay, and I'm trying to make this big if I can. So what you're looking at here is part of the 2024 budget, specifically Section 253. So this comes in the same time period, a little bit after, but the same time period or so as we're talking about now, the summer of 2024. In the budget, there was a request for $12 million. The governor and the state puts $12 million. This is the exact language that's in there. This is the exact budget language pulled from the Budget Act of 2024. This is it. Okay? This is the thing that puts reparations funding in the state budget last year. This is the language. Section 253, Section 1580, for implementation of reparations legislation that is enacted into law, the Director of Finance may augment one or more items in this act by no more than $12 million from the general fund. So $12 million to implement reparations legislation. Okay. And the legislation that they were talking about was Senate Bill 1403, the bill to create the state institution to then do the eligibility checking and then the processing of all the things that we will be getting. All right. So we're in the summer of 2024. All right. We get money in the budget for reparations. Then this happens. All right. Then this happens. 2 historic California reparations bills stall out, sparing Newsom a tough call. This is August of 2024. So we were in July with money in the budget, money for reparations. The next month, about 5 weeks later, this happens. 2 bills, one of them being the bill to do the thing that was the $6 million for the agency, the check your eligibility and process your claims and payments bill. That bill is one of the bills that's stalled out. And by stalled out, they mean dies, stops, is killed, is blocked, is stopped. That's what they mean by stall. That's a nice way of saying your bill died, your bill was blocked. So many of us remember this very well, but for those of you who don't, this was August of 2024, and there were 3 bills. We're talking about 2 right now. I'm going to talk about the next one soon, but there were 3 bills that were blocked, stopped. 3 very important reparations related bills that were blocked, stopped. And this is a story that talks about that from Cal Matters. And one of those bills was the bill that was going to be funded by what was in the budget, $12 million. Okay. So the budget gets passed, it has 12 million. The Black Caucus says give 6 of that 12 million to this bill that's going to do this agency that's going to check people's eligibility and process people's claims. And then that bill that checks that creates the agency that checks eligibility and process people's claims is then killed. Okay? Is then blocked. Actually, I don't know if I would say ironically, but by the same California Legislative Black Caucus, at least a majority of the California Legislative Black Caucus, then blocked. So after requesting $6 million for a bill to do this agency and checking of eligibility and checking and processing of payments, then this same California Legislative Black Caucus, the 2024 version, then blocks, at least a majority of them, blocks the same bill. There's a lot of media and press about why and all that stuff. I'm gonna just direct you back to all the stuff from our pages and what was out last year around that time for more about why. Okay. All right. So thank you for following me on my story. All right, we are not done. We ain't even close to done. But I want to thank you right now. Also, those of y'all who was there with us last year, I said there were 3 bills. This was one of the other bills, right? So there were 3 bills that were blocked, or that were blocked in some way last year. 2 of them were in that last picture I just showed you. And in that 2 of them, one of those was that $6 million funded agency to check your eligibility and process your payments. But there was another bill that the governor blocked, or that was blocked last year. This one was not blocked by the Black Caucus. This one was blocked by the governor, specifically vetoed by the governor. California Governor Gavin Newsom last year vetoed Senate Bill 1050, and that bill would have opened up and then provided for compensation directly and restitution of property directly to families who had their property taken by the state unjustly, if they were descendants of people who were enslaved in this country. That bill got to the governor's desk, and the governor vetoed that bill, saying that I can't sign this bill and give people their property back or pay them for the property that we took, because this property giving back and give you the money for the property system was going to run through that agency thing that was blocked by the Black Caucus folks. So no need. So I can't sign this thing because it depends on the other thing. Many of us right now are reliving that trauma. Right? So I want us to take a collective deep breath. By those of us who was living it and experiencing it in person, all right, who had a front row seat to it, I want you to breathe. Okay. So, and let me get this off the stage and screen so people can, hurting people's nighttime. So, okay, we're still on story time. All that leads to where we are today. So all of that leads to where we are today. Okay. What you're looking at is, thank you. I see you, Kim. Yes, that's right. Never forget 831 Black August, right on. What you're looking at, family, is where we are today in story time. So what you're looking at is a piece of the 2025 budget. A piece of the 2025 budget. We just ended talking about the 2024 budget and last year. That $12 million that was in the budget last year, after all that stuff happened that we just talked about, the bills get blocked, et cetera, that money did not move. It stood still, with one exception. One exception. Some of you know what that exception is. Let's talk about that exception. Okay. So the money that was in the budget last year, that $12 million, after those bills got stopped and blocked last year, did not move. So the money has been sitting in the state budget. $12 million for reparations bills has been sitting in the state budget for about a year, just sitting there, not being spent, collecting dust, losing value, depending on what your thoughts are, right? So I'm gonna talk about what's going on now with it and what is now the plan for it. Because there is now a plan for what to do with that $12 million, and I'm gonna tell you what the new plan is and what happened to the old money. But a piece of that $12 million, about $500,000, $500,000 of that $12 million, from what we were told, from what we understand from folks here in the Capitol, about $500,000 of that was used to purchase a plaque or a statue with like an apology written somewhere in or on or around it. Now, I have not seen a plaque. I have not seen an apology or a statue. I kind of don't want to see a plaque or an apology or statue, to be honest. I want to get reparations for the thing you are apologizing for. You can keep the plaque, you can keep the apology, or in this way, you can apologize with your actions. You can apologize by coming off the money of ours that you still have. But I'm just telling you, I'm just giving you the real. About $500,000 of that $12 million is supposedly spent on a plaque and an apology statue somewhere in the Capitol. We haven't seen it, and we've been at the Capitol many times this year. Have not seen a $500,000. First of all, that's a very important, expensive plaque. I mean, a $500,000 plaque or statue. I mean, so okay, so a piece of that $12 million was carved out for a plaque and apology by the state of California to apologize for what they did to our people and have done. But so what happened to the rest of the money? Where's the rest of the money? And so this is where we are now. And what you're looking at right now, by the way, as we always do, whenever you come to this work that we do, you always get knowledge about the process of civics. And what civics is merely just talking about how government works. Because I had to learn, a lot of us had to learn how the budget process works. How do budgets get done, when state budgets, etc. So what you're looking at right now is a small piece and part of the 2025 budget. Okay. I want you to look at section 26 at the top. It says section 26, right? SEC.26. That's what I mean, section 26. The first thing it says is section 15.80 of the Budget Act of 2024 is repealed. That is a big line. Okay. Section 15.80 of the Budget Act of 2024 is repealed. That is the same section that we read earlier from last year's budget with the reparations $12 million in it. Okay. So what this new budget bill this year is doing is going back to the last year's budget and repealing, taking away, canceling, doing something different with whatever we did, or that $12 million from last year. So what this language at the top says is, y'all know that $12 million last year that was in the budget? What we said we're going to do with that? We're repealing that. We changed our minds. Okay. Now, section 27, we're going to tell you what we are going to do with that money now. So $12 million minus $500,000 for a plaque that we don't really want. $12 million minus $500,000. Okay. So it's about 12. It's still about $12 million. Let's tell you what we're going to do with this new. Let's tell you what we're going to do with the money now. All right, let me just put it simple. All right. So the following appropriations, or let me just read it directly to you. Section 1580 is added to the Budget Act of 2024 to read. So now they are adding some new things now. And here's what they're adding. The following appropriations are hereby made from the general fund. $6 million to the California State University for purposes of implementing legislation related to genealogy determination. Does that sound familiar to anyone? That is the reparations genealogy study. That is the reparations genealogy study, also known as Senate Bill 437, introduced by California Legislative Black Caucus Chair, Leader, Senator Akilah Weber Pearson. So what you're hearing now is we're not going to do what we said we're going to do with the money for reparations last year. Instead, what we're going to do is give half of it to a reparations study. So not to implement reparations, but to do another study of reparations, this time specifically about genealogy and reparations, or genealogy and reparations eligibility. And then the other part of the money, it's saying, I'm just going to read it, $6 million for the allocation to the Tides Foundation to educate Californians on the findings of the California Reparations Task Force report. So this is saying, take the other part of that money and give it to an organization called the Tides Foundation to do reparations education or reparations task force report education. Now, what is the Tides Foundation? The Tides Foundation, for those of you who don't know, it's a big organization that gets money and then gives money to other organizations. And they've done great work across the state of California. They've done work with a lot of different organizations. They've helped support and fund a bunch of different organizations. They've supported CJ's work in the past as well. They've done work, but what they have not done is reparations. What they have not done is reparations work. Right. Now, I want to make a point here. When I say that, I'm not saying that those of us who are doing reparations, like CJ, want this money. I'm not saying that. We've made it clear. We've told the governor's office. We told the Black Caucus leadership. We put out on social media that this money, this $12 million, was originally supposed to be for reparations, to start the reparations process, not for funding of a nonprofit organization. As somebody who works with and for nonprofit organizations and has done for some time now, I could tell you there are all kind of ways that nonprofits get their funding. Our ancestors' reparations money ain't one of them. It ain't. Our ancestors' money that they worked hard for, that we've been fighting hard to get in our budget and make reparations happen, it ain't one of them. This will not be good. This will not be good. Taking money, and we're looking at we're looking at it right now, right? What you're looking at on the screen is the exact language of, instead of doing reparations with the money, we're going to do a study of reparations and then give the rest of the money to a nonprofit organization for them to then give to other nonprofit organizations, okay, to do reparations education. But what that means is to fund my nonprofits programs. Okay. That's not what our ancestors' money is for. Our ancestors' money belong in our hands to build our communities with and build power politically and economically, not to fund your nonprofit organization, not to do it. So it's partly where we are now. Okay. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. There's one more thing I want to show. All right? The story ain't done. Okay. And by the way, I said I'm telling you a story. We are talking about a story, and this is, I didn't want to make this very, like I said in the start, very like scripted and formal. I kind of just wanted to talk to the family and just tell a story and just talk real. Because I think even people who, may or may not, support the work that we do, no matter where they are on the political or politics of this, no matter what, this is wrong. You put money So people work hard to get reparations on the agenda and then funding for reparations. And then Black leaders work with the governor to take the money away from that and then put it to a study and to fund their nonprofits or fund nonprofits that they know. We have been telling the Black Caucus and the folks in the Capitol for over a year now how bad it would be for us as a public to wake up one day and find out that some of our ancestors' reparations money that we've been fighting to get in the state budget has been stolen away by the political leaders and repurposed and directed to studies. And by the way, the study it's a government study. So the money is going right back into the government to do the study. And then to fund nonprofit organizations that they have relationships with. This is wrong. It's just wrong. And there will be consequences for it. There will be political consequences for this. So we're not done though. Okay? As I mentioned, we're talking and we're telling a story, but we are only telling the beginning of the story. We're only telling and talking about the beginning of the story. But as we're talking and telling about the beginning of the story, I don't want to leave out this piece. So what you're looking at right now is also part of the current budget act, the current budget bill this year. They call it the budget act or bill, right, or law. The current budget bill. So section SEC 35, pay close attention. What you're going to hear and see is some additional money, some more money being put in the budget for 2025 on top of the $12 million that was being moved around already. So an additional $6 million, totaling $18 million in total. 12 million plus 6 million is 18 million. So an additional $6 million is being added to the 2025 budget to do something related to, at least according to the legislation, something related to reparations, at least according to the bill. Okay? Let me make that make more sense for you. So I don't want you to focus on the numbers, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to focus on the words. And I'm going to read some of the words. 1, the amount appropriated in this item, $6 million, shall be available to support the implementation of pending legislation that establishes the Bureau for Descendants of American Slavery, subject to enactment. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that we are now putting another $6 million in the budget to set up something called the Bureau for Descendants of American Slavery. That may and should sound familiar to people. That is the Bureau, the thing in Senate Bill 518, SB 518, also introduced by California Legislative Black Caucus, CLBC leader and chair, Senator Akilah Weber Pearson. So Senator Akilah Weber Pearson has both the study reparations bill and the Reparations Bureau, Descendants for Slavery Bureau bill here too. Okay. So this is important. This Bureau, and those of you who've been following us on social media, et cetera, by the way, if you're not following on social media, do that right now. All right, please do that right now. Those of you who have been following us on social media know that we are opposed to this bill. We oppose this bill, this Bureau bill, for a number of different reasons. I want to talk about that quickly. I also want to share a little bit more about why we oppose the study bill, although I think you kind of get why we would oppose a study bill, but let me just talk more about that too. Because it matters to the money. It matters to the budget. It matters to the funding. Because this and the study, the funding for the study, we made the case are a waste and a misappropriation of taxpayers' time and money. This and the study are a waste and a misappropriation of taxpayer time and money. A waste of the $18 million. Okay? A misappropriation of the $18 million. Let me say more about that when I'm talking about this Bureau and why. So the Bureau says it will be for descendants of American slavery. The bill defines the descendants of American slavery as somebody who is a descendant of someone who was freed from chattel slavery in the United States, more or less, right? So that's the more or less description of how it defines descendants. If you specifically interested in how the bill defines descendants, I would encourage you to go read it. It's in the definition section of the bill. But they're talking here about people whose ancestors were enslaved and freed from child slavery in these United States. That's who they're talking about. Although I know there are many of us who think descendants of American slavery is not a great descriptor of our people. But in the bill itself, that word descendants is defined more narrowly. So that's what I'm saying. Although it's defined, though, more narrowly to mean those of us whose ancestors built this country, it's also the case that the bill says that this bureau, which is supposed to be for descendants, can and will also serve people who are not descendants. Specifically, as the bill says, other communities or communities that were identified that are not descendants, communities that are identified in the reparations report, other communities, other than descendants. If you read the final reparations report, there are probably like 13, 15 different other groups talked about, just mentioned and talked about, and so this bureau will and can support and serve people who are not descendants of those who were free from chattel slavery in these United States. Now, that is a problem no matter what. We know that's a problem. Like, just morally on the policy, so it's just wrong, but on the policy, it's bad. But on the financial and fiscal and budget part, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievably bad. How much? So we make the case that in almost anybody in California, if this bill is signed into law, almost anybody in California, descendant or not, no matter how they self-identify, could come to this bureau and get some stuff and get some of our reparations. There's 40 million people in California. How much is it going to cost? How much is this bureau? How do you fund a bureau that can give anybody reparations in California, almost anybody in California reparations? So this matters. This matters. I can tell you right now, it ain't $6 million. I can tell you right now, it's not $6 million. It's not. So one of the problems we've had, and we've seen this in our own lives, is just like Black folks, right? Black Americans. And people notice if you grew up like a lot of us, where you had to, get government services. So if the government don't fund the services properly, if the government don't fund the administration properly, if the government don't fund the thing and the resources properly, that's the way to stop it, to cancel it. That's a way to not make it happen. I can tell you right now, this bureau is already starting out underfunded. Already. Or if it's signed into law, this is nowhere near what's needed. And these funds are one-time funds. What you're looking at right now, the $6 million, is a one-time fund from what I read. One-time funds. So this bureau not only will serve everyone in California, it won't have enough money to serve even the people who it's supposed to serve. So here's what we can do, family. We can tell the governor right now to veto, stop, cancel the study, SB 437, and the Bureau, SB 518 bills. One quick word, I didn't say that I was going to say more about the SB 437 study bill and how, and more about why we're opposing that and connected to the funding and the budget piece. So clearly, there's no need for no more reparations study. We did 2 years of study already. Those folks who say we need to study how to do genealogy and study how to create a process for people to to verify that they are descendants of people who were enslaved in this country. The genealogists say that that's a waste of time and money, because that's already known. So there's no need to study that. There's just a need to create the process and then do the process. So no study, create, do. Okay? 437 says study and then recommend how to create later. Okay. So importantly here though, why is this important for the budget? Why is 437 important for the budget? Well, one, because it pulls from that, pulls $6 million into from the budget into that study. But also, we've made the case that SB 437, that study, stops, slows, blocks, stalls everything and anything else that comes after it until that study's done. So if you want to give descendants preferences in licensing in California, that has to wait now on the study. That's by the way, there's an actual bill for that now. It's AB 742. That bill has to wait for the study. That bill actually, well, I'll come back to that. But that bill has to wait for the study. If you want to give people, who had their property taken, their property back, well, if it's for descendants, that would have to wait for the study too. If you want to give students who are descendants preference in admissions in California colleges, which there's a bill to do that too. It's AB 7. We made the case that now has to wait for the study to end. That's the study is supposed to go until at least 2029, possibly 2030, but at least 2029. That means it will be at least until the 2030s before anybody can get anything, if at all. Okay? That's important for the budgeting and the funding of these things. Okay? Those things need to be funded. Those things would need and will need to be funded. Okay? So the funding of all this is important, and the blocking of all the things that come after SB 437 is important too. All the more reason, family, why you and I need to tell the governor to veto both SB 437 and SB 518, and also to make an issue with your state senator and your state assembly person who also voted. And let me just say it like this straight. Almost everybody who's watching this right now, probably, and who will watch it in California, almost every one of our state assembly people and state senators, state electeds voted for all of the things, or most of the things that we talked about today, for that $12 million in the budget last year, to reappropriate, redirect, divert the money this year, to put the $6 million into a bureau, to have a study. Almost every single one of our state senators and state assembly people voted for that. So the question for us is, in addition to, have you reached out to the governor to tell him to veto SB 437? Have you reached out to the governor to tell him to veto SB 518? Have you reached out to the governor to tell him to put reparations in the budget, and to put reparations funding back in the budget, which you can also do? And we're also encouraging you to do now also. What about your state assembly people who are up for election next year? What about your state senators? When they come to your districts and come to your neighborhoods in the next 3 to 5 months, or when they're coming to your districts and your neighborhoods now and asking for you to do things or support things, or maybe they're asking, maybe they're telling you that they're going to run. Tell them that you want them to tell you why you should support them if they helped divert, take away the reparations funding in the budget from last year and put it to a study and somebody's nonprofit organization this year. Okay. What's up, family? I see you. Great question. AFBM. No, we don't. We're not asking the governor to veto the $6 million. We're asking the governor, because that $6 million that's already passed. So that's already happened. What we're asking the governor to do is veto SB 518, the bill that $6 million would go to. And then also the other bill that the other part of that money would go to also. That's Senate Bill SB 437. And I'm glad you asked, because in the chat right now, I am going to post the links for you to take the call to action right now. We're asking folks to take this call to action right now. Do it right now. Share it with your cousin, with your brother, with your aunt, with your uncle, with your mother, with your father, with your sister. Share it with your coworker. I just don't mess up your job, but share it with everybody. Share it with some strangers on social media. Share it with anybody, everybody that you can, and then take the action yourself multiple times. All right. Send an email. Send a letter. Send an email today. Do it tomorrow. Do it the day after, et cetera, et cetera. So put this in the chat for you right now. And then please, family, again, take this action. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. And if you have any questions, you have any thoughts about it, please do let us know as well. It's in the chat for you right now. Boom, boom. You should be able to get it or see it. All right. Let me know if it's not clickable or it's also available on all of our social medias as well. And here's the second one for you as well. So that first one was about Senate Bill 518, the Bureau bill. The second one is about the study. All right, we want to stop the study as well. Okay, so let's stop the study. Also, please, family, take this action as well as soon as you can. It's important. All right, the governor has until October 12th, 3 weeks, to make a decision about these bills. Let him know that you want these bills vetoed and you don't want your money to be diverted and reappropriated and stolen away from reparations and into somebody's nonprofit and into somebody's study or back into the government, because that's exactly what it is. Okay, family. Before I go, I want to just say one thing. Thank you. Let me get this off the screen because I know it's causing heartburn for people. All right. I'm sorry about that. It's causing me heartburn too. Thank you, family. All right. Thank you. This is important work. Okay. Is SB 518 specifically for American freedmen? The answer is no, No. It is not. That is partly why we are opposing the bill. No, it is not specifically for American freedmen, not specifically for the descendants. It is specifically for everybody, specifically for almost everybody, whether you're descendant or not. Okay. So, again, fam, I want to say thank you, though. Appreciate you. Sometimes, when you're doing this kind of work, you can't always see like what's in front of you and like what the next, things are. But all I want to say is stay in the fight. Okay? Stay on what we're on. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Raphael. Shout out to the Memorial City Reparations Collective. Stay what we on, family. Okay? We're going to win. Okay? We're going to win. This is just a part of the winning process as we work through what's in the budget and what's not in the budget and what we want in the budget, et cetera, et cetera. You should know that we told the Black Caucus and the governor's office and really every legislator and have been saying it repeatedly that we want new money in the budget in the budget for reparations this year. This year we said that we'll probably have a very similar, demand next year too. We even said this year we wanted the governor to put the money in the budget up front. So in his budget proposal up front, we also wanted to multiply the amount of money in the budget for reparations by I think like 5 or 10. We wanted multi-year funding for the reparations. We wanted a California reparations fund in the state treasury, so in our state budget, we wanted a fund dedicated specifically for reparations called the California Reparations Fund. We also worked for funding for a state agency, a state institution that would check eligibility and check and then process your claims. And we also said, cut the damn checks. Put money in the budget to start cutting checks. Why are we waiting? What you waiting on? Put money in the budget to start cutting checks this year now. Okay. That's what we those are some of the items that we brought to the legislature this year. As a part of the put the checks in the budget, ask and request, what we said was we want in the state budget some funding for checks starting with seniors, our elders who are American freedmen. Starting with our elders and our seniors first. So let's start with our elders and our seniors first. They've been here the longest, all right, and they got the most family around them. Let's start with and also a lot of our elders and our seniors need the support too. Let's start with our elders and our seniors. Let's honor our legacy. Let's honor our past and start with our elders first. Cut the checks for our elders first. There's two ways you could do it. You could create a new so-called guaranteed income program, which is the same thing as cutting checks. Create a new guaranteed income program that will be funded in a state budget. So make it inside the budget. You don't need a separate bill. Put it in the budget. Although you could have a separate bill, but you don't need one. But put it in the budget, and then tell whoever, whatever state agency or state body is doing guaranteed income to create a program specifically for checks for our seniors who are freedmen. Okay? So you could do it as a new program, or guess what? We found out California has a cut the checks program for seniors right now. It's just not for freedmen seniors specifically. Last year, in that same 2024 budget, there was some millions of dollars. I'm not sure. I think it was between $5 and $10 million put in our state budget to create a guaranteed income program, a checks program for seniors who are, who have, meet certain income limits. That program is supposed to start already next year, and that program is supposed to be run by the California Department of Social Services. So we told the state, listen, carve in or carve out or make some elbow room in that existing program that you already funded and put the Freedmen Seniors program in there, or create a new program for guaranteed income checks for our Freedmen Seniors that's built or modeled or based on that program. So you could create a new program for our Freedmen Seniors, or you could build us into the existing program, okay, and do all this in the budget. Okay? Now, this proposal was rejected, and we're not giving up. So I'm saying that to say, stay in the fight. Right? What's coming next is, I think, important for us as a people, as we see whether or not bills get signed over the next 2-3 weeks, etc. Right? This is what's next for us. So thank you for joining us. All right, I'm gonna stop it right here. We almost at time. I didn't think I was gonna need a whole hour. Again, I want to make this informal. They want to make it all scripted and like rigid. I want to just talk to the family and just tell the real stuff, stuff that you probably ain't gonna hear if you ain't hearing it here. And with that, don't forget, family, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share. Follow us at CJEC Official on all the social medias, etc., etc. Follow us. Go to our website, www.cjec-official.org. That's www.cjec-official.org, and donate. All right, hit that donate button. Sign up for the newsletter. Sign up to volunteer on the Get Involved page. Read the newsletter because it's on the website. You don't need to wait for a newsletter email to get the newsletter now. It's on the website, so get it there. Family, stay doing what you're doing. Okay? Stay unapologetic. Stay that way. All right. Trust me, it's working. And with that, I'll see you on the battlefield. Salute.